Okay, guys, so Piers Morgan goes absolutely nuclear on the Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danone. Absolutely insane stuff. He grills him on the Israeli strike in Qatar targeting Hamas leaders that was a complete failure, but you have the ambassador justifying the strike, comparing it to Osama bin Laden and the US strike in Pakistan, which is, of course, is absolutely absurd. Not to mention this attack was a failure and it was on a major US ally, okay? And the justification this ambassador is using is ridiculous. Piers is not buying it for 1 second, and he goes after him for it. So we're going to show you the clip, and we're going to talk about it in just a minute. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm, and it helps the channel immensely. We're super close to 1,000 subscribers, so let's try and get there soon. And if you want to become a member, hit the join button below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Here's a clip of Piers Morgan going after the ambassador, and we'll break it down in just a minute. Here's the clip, guys.
Really struggling to understand the logic, if you genuinely want to get to a peace deal, of attacking one of America's leading allies, Qatar, or attacking a Hamas group in Qatar, where the United States has a huge military base there. They've been at the forefront of trying to forge a peace deal, bringing all the people together. I'm really struggling to understand how launching an attack in Doha that ends up not killing any of the Hamas leaders, as apparently was the intention, but kills a number of other people. But it causes outrage across the region, upsets the President of the United States, enrages the Emir of Qatar, understandably. How does any of this advance Israel's cause? And why does it make anybody in the world imagine that Israel genuinely wants peace? Because that is the last thing you would do, surely, is attack the negotiators as they're meeting to discuss a peace deal.
Thank you for having me again, Piers. So let's make it clear. The attack was not against Qatar. The attack was in Doha against the leadership of Hamas, a notorious terrorist organization which orchestrated the atrocities of October 7th. So we actually targeted terrorists, period, that are killing people. And only last week we had another terror attack in Jerusalem. And the same group in Qatar, they put a statement that they congratulate the success of the attack, which killed another 6 Israelis. So we are committed to find those terrorists, to bring them into justice, or to bring justice to them. And that's exactly what we did. And Piers, it is exactly what the US did when the US attacked Osama bin Laden, in Pakistan, by the way, or when the UK attacked ISIS terrorists in Syria or Iraq, or when France is attacking terrorist groups in Mali or Burkina Faso. But when it comes to Israel, all of a sudden there is double standard. Why you attack terrorists in a different country and you breach sovereignty of another nation? But that's how it works. We fight terror and we will continue to hunt down those terrorists wherever they are. They cannot hide in Gaza, in Beirut. We will find them wherever they will be.
Right, but that doesn't really answer my question. I mean, trying to compare the attack on Osama bin Laden in a compound in Pakistan when he's the leader of Al-Qaeda, as far as I'm aware, he wasn't negotiating any peace process with anybody. In fact, quite the opposite. So a clear, legitimate target. Why would you target people who you are trying to negotiate peace with, unless you want to send a message you have no interest in peace? I don't get it.
So let's be clear about it. Hamas leadership that was behind the atrocities of October 7th, the one who funded and planned the attack to kidnap Israelis, rape Israeli women and girls, burn people to death, they will not stay with us, period. You can argue with me about the timing, about the location, but they will not stay with us, period. We will get to them. The same way we got to the people who committed the massacre in the Olympic Games in Munich. We got to them. It took us a few years. So the same goes for the leadership of Hamas. We were able to take care of most of them, and we are determined to finish the job, to complete the assignment, to make sure that they will not stay with us after what they did to us.
But that the...
Okay, so again, I think Piers kind of goes after him here, and the idea that the Israeli government wants peace after this bombing is, of course, absurd, and that's the point that Piers is trying to make there. The logic makes no sense unless you actually don't want peace, which, of course, is why they did the strike. Because again, they were literally negotiating on peace grounds, again, in Doha, who the Qataris were mediating this, okay? And let's be clear, guys, since this strike, the Qataris have announced that they're done mediating. They're not going to, because again, they don't want to put their country at risk. They were just bombed by Israel. Why would they continue this mediation process, which they pulled out, which frankly might have been the objective the entire time of doing this strike? And yeah, Piers is right. There actually is universal outrage. Even all the Western countries have condemned this. Of course, the Arab countries have condemned this. And there's no question this is not going to lead to any sort of new Abraham Accords or normalization of relations between Israel and other countries. That's out the window right now, okay? There is mass outrage in the Middle East over this. And also, Pierre bringing up the point that, oh, Trump was actually outraged about this. Well, now it's being reported actually that they actually aren't that mad about it, okay? Because Trump isn't mad about it because the Israelis reportedly, according to Axios, actually told Trump beforehand and he signed off on it, which is pretty wild stuff. And the official position from the White House is, oh, of course he had no idea about this, but he might just be saying this to save face with the Qataris because, of course, he does like the Qataris because they gave him a jumbo jet, so he doesn't really care that much. He wants to sort of save face here and pretend as if he actually did not know the strike was coming. But let's be honest, I don't think it's likely that the Israelis did the strike without American approval, okay? And again, the idea that this guy's talking about the hostages, the Israelis have put the hostages at risk here with this strike. There's no question about that. Again, they were meeting to end the war. Now you just bomb them. So now there's not going to be any sort of peace agreement in the near future after this, okay? And the fact is they were discussing peace and comparing it to bin Laden, okay, is utterly absurd. There was nobody even knew bin Laden was in Pakistan, okay? There was no sort of peace negotiation going on. So the idea that you're comparing it to the American strike in Pakistan is utterly ridiculous. And it's a common propaganda line that the Israeli government spokespeople are using. It's untrue. It's not even close to the same thing whatsoever. They were negotiating for a peace settlement. That was not going on with Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. That's utterly ridiculous. And Piers basically says, hey, not only did you do this, but the attack itself failed. In fact, you killed a Qatari security force person, and you didn't even kill any of the right people you were targeting. And he says, oh, we actually don't know the full truth. Well, actually, we do know the truth. The Hamas leader survived, and this is according to the Benjamin Netanyahu himself that it failed, okay? So he's just like outright lying when he's saying that. It's utterly ridiculous. And then this guy has the nerve to bring up the double standard that the Israelis face. I mean, if any other country was doing this, the United States would not be funding them and giving them money constantly. US would cut ties. There's no question about that. So it's ironic he brings up a double standard there. Again, the entire thing is utterly preposterous. And hey, I think that it's really indefensible if you're actually looking for a peace settlement to say, yeah, bombing Qatar was actually good. I know it was an attack on Qatar. You say, oh, the attack was in Doha, but it wasn't an actual attack on Qatar. Well, when you're bombing their sovereign country, guys, that's what the reaction is going to be. So utterly ridiculous. So here's a final clip, and we'll talk about in just a minute of him justifying the strike, and we'll break it down. Here's the final clip.
The mission was a failure. You didn't kill reportedly any Hamas commanders. So do you accept the mission failed?
Well, it's too early to call. We have to wait to see. Also when we assassinated Muhammad Defi, it took a few weeks to confirm. So we'll have to wait. But the intention, that's what's important. The message that was sent. Even if we fail this time, we will do it again and again and again until we will hunt them down, all of them. So they cannot hide. I think they know it by now. And I think that message is an important one. And I think actually it will help us to move forward with the ceasefire agreement because for the people of Gaza, we know Hamas don't care about the people of Gaza. You agree with me about that. But maybe they care about their own lives and their own future that they will negotiate a ceasefire deal.
Finally, the UN General Assembly takes place next week with many countries, including the UK, France, Canada, Australia, and Belgium, expected to recognise Palestine as a state. What is your message for them as everybody meets next week?
Well, we know it's a theater. We know it's nothing will change the reality on the ground. It will be another.
Okay, so it's interesting that the ambassador talks about the intention is what matters. What are you talking about, the intention? That's not what matters. First of all, the attack completely failed, okay? Number two, again, the intention is to bomb sovereign countries like Qatar who are actually mediating peace between Israel and Hamas. It makes no sense whatsoever. And again, he says, we'll do it again and again. Basically saying, you know what, if you're in Qatar and we have the chance to go after you, we're going to do it again. This does nothing to sort of cool down the temperature in terms of, "Hey, listen, don't worry, guys. We're not gonna go in, bomb foreign countries again if you're holding different kinds of Hamas officials there." We're actually negotiating peace and trying to get to a peace settlement. That's what the Qataris are doing. They were trying to mediate peace, which is again, they withdrew from this because they don't wanna get bombed again by Israel, okay? That's just the fact of the matter. And again, the idea that the ambassador argued this would lead to a ceasefire, what are you talking about? If anything, it prevents and actually inhibits the role of the ceasefire coming into play here because now the Qataris aren't even gonna be mediating. It makes no sense whatsoever. And again, I think he kinda takes the mask off when he says, "Hey, all these, states, those Western countries saying they're gonna recognize a Palestinian state, it's all theater." And frankly, guys, that's what the goal is. The goal is to prevent the recognition of a Palestinian state. They don't want a Palestinian state, which is why they're taking all these aggressive actions and bombing these foreign countries because, again, they don't really want a ceasefire settlement. That's pretty obvious, okay? Which is why they just invaded Gaza City, and it looks like the war is not going to be ending anytime soon. Okay, that's just the fact of the matter, let's just be honest, guys. So, that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm, and it helps out the channel immensely. And if you want to become a member, just hit the join button below. We're super close to 1,000 subscribers. So hit that subscribe button. Let's try and get there soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.